Alright, here we go. For Honor, Year 7, Season 4, we're closing out the year. Viking skin is coming. Hopefully it's for Valkyrie. I'm seeing this. It's probably Valkyrie or Berserker. That would be sick. I see Shaman over there too, but Shaman honestly has the best fashion out of the entire Vikings faction, I feel like. So I also am hoping, fingers crossed, for a Centurion testing grounds. He needs a little help. Also, I want like a huge update to the game, you know? Like, update the story mode, right?
And at the end of the show, we're going to pick some lucky winners to win a grand prize of either 100,000 steel or the new hero skin, which will be
Whoa,
a bit later.
That's kind of wild.
Be a good one, you'll see.
I'm excited. This hero skin is fresh.
It's quite
So good.
certified.
So good.
Fresh?
Yes. Nature
Funky fresh?
White Bonus Spirit has received its polish pass. So we improved the armor a little bit, made it adapted it to fit body type 1 a little bit better, as well as some clipping issues and some other things that weren't quite working perfect with it. And so you guys can enjoy that with the drop of the TU. So those of you who put in the time for the grind, your effort will have paid off.
I definitely did, so I'm excited. Did you grind out the skin?
I did.
Do you have all the pieces?
I did. I got it all.
That's amazing.
It was a lot of. I actually learned in the process that I quite like Shanyu. I did not know that.
Wait, I actually missed what they said.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I tend to, I like my.
Can we customize it now? I missed it.
But yeah, in addition to this,
I
we
wasn't
also have
paying
an ongoing
attention.
partnership right now with
If they did,
Dying Light.
yay, sweet.
So For Honor
Woo!
is in Dying Light.
If they didn't, boo.
So you can get your.
When?
The enemy came in the night. They offered a choice.
Treason.
Submit or die. Death. No oath.
Wait, are we getting new gear for the Vikings as well?
We did what we had to.
Oh?
Some will look down on us. Brand us traitors.
Don't tell me this is
Let
the
them
skin,
do
dude.
so at the end of our blades.
Don't tell me that's the skin. Please. Damn, I think that's the skin, dude. I think that's it.
And you can see some of Oathbreaker Maddox here, and I feel like there's some narrative elements woven into the skin itself.
Yes. So the first thing
Yeah,
to
let's
know
talk about the narrative elements.
Highlander Maddox is that he is a survivor. And this is best represented in the amazing design he has here with the saber-toothed tiger pelt. The story behind that goes that once Maddox
pretty
was
sick.
Lost in the Viking wilderness on the point of freezing to death.
An easy thing to do.
Yeah, it's pretty easy
Yeah.
in Valkenheim. When he came across a saber-toothed tiger, supposedly an extinct creature, somehow survived the cataclysm. And it's a beautiful creature, very rare. Still, he killed the creature in order to survive, where it's and it just foreshadows.
Would it
how he's
not
going
be
to do
cool if
whatever
we
it
could
takes to
play
live,
this story
and of course, the
instead?
inevitable betrayal of the chieftain.
You know?
Yeah.
Instead of hearing about it, I'd like
I
to
believe
play this
there's
story.
Some other elements in the
And then
armor
maybe
as well,
if
from,
you
like, the
beat
artistic
that
direction side that kind of
DLC or like
yeah,
arcade
absolutely.
mode,
So of
you
course
get,
the pelt is the first
I don't know,
thing.
half the amount of
It's
steel
the
you
biggest
need
thing.
to
It's
purchase
enormous.
the
It takes over his whole
skin.
body. In a way, it kind of is symbolic of his own loss of personhood. Like he's kind of
You
put
know,
away.
like it could be
Maddox,
cool.
who
Like
did
it
all
could
of
be
this strange
cool.
And this, you can kind of even say that he's
Like
been
it's
reborn
cool,
as
but
the
I
saber-tooth
wish this
tiger,
was just
baptized in its
Viking
blood.
gear
It's-
anyway.
it's
You
become
know?
something new.
Like I wish all
Yeah.
Vikings had stuff
It
like
really
this.
is.
Hard
Yeah,
to wash off.
yeah. It's one that you can change the color of as well.
I love it.
Yes. So he's got minimal Highlander elements left on him. He's got a little bit of plaid right at his waist. So you can still see bits of that background. You can see the accessories at his waist as well. He's got a pouch. He has a horn. He's got some handcuffs. And
Handcuffs.
it's really the pelt is the focal point for sure. But
it's great. I love those little Highlander elements you can see just have eroded.
Yes.
As he's like been like
chipping away.
This is me now.
Yes.
This is the new me.
Yeah.
And for the first time in my life, I'm not gonna take it anymore.
You know, it actually
he's
looks
just really
like
stepping
Griffin.
into this, like, more beast
It looks like a
like,
Griffin skin.
He's also fully armored Viking.
that did not escape me. And
Yes.
I believe
Okay.
this is going to be a fun one for people who like alt materials, right?
It is. Yeah, the chainmail can be customized with alternate materials. There's also a bunch of colors that you can customize on his pants, on that blood swipe, on the plaid.
I don't know about this one, man.
All those
I'm
materials,
not
all those
feeling
colors.
it.
Now we've
Also,
got to take a quick look at the
Highlander is about to go into the testing grounds, right? It's really weird that they're releasing a skin for a character that not many people play. It has a very high skill, not skill cap. You know what I mean. You have to have a true understanding of the game to even play the character, and even then, it's like it still might not go your way. I feel like skins should be reserved for characters that are collectively fun to play. Right? Anybody can play the character and have fun. Valkyrie, Yorm. Raider already has one, never mind. I forgot.
The last 2 years, we've had weapons tied to ice brawlers, the brawling on the ice. And this year's no different, except it's totally different because we're going to have another weapon set, but you can also unlock the previous 2 years weapons this time.
Oh,
as well.
nice.
So you
See,
got
I
3
like
years
stuff
of
like
weapons in
this.
this one. So you got
There
the
should
new
be
ones and
events
the
where you
tool.
can just unlock
Hopefully I said
all
that enough
event
time.
gear.
Even the people in the back got it.
And
So
pallets
last but not least, we've got some
and
event pass
effects
items. Let's
randomly,
look at
just
'em. First up, we
RNG
got
on
metal
them
outfits,
dropping,
Snowy
and it should just be
Betrayal,
around all
fresh
year.
on everybody's favorite mooch.
That's how I feel. That's how
And
I
we've
feel.
also got an
Just do it.
ornament. This one's going straight on my Warmonger. The Tusks of Betrayal. I really like this one. It's a
Like
very
tribute.
I like a mod.
Make
like
tribute.
an Art Deco thing.
The
And then
drops
for
in
those of you who
tribute just
remember
be
the Thin Red Path trailer.
event stuff.
Days Pass.
You know,
Nice little mod.
that you may have missed out
And
on.
then we've got the Holer Oath weapons.
Or a breach. This Warriors Den is not doing it for me, man. All of them with the saber tooth poking out. Very cool. Is it even a saber tooth or is it a wolf? Wolf.
In the features of the game like this, after 7 years live, like it's amazing that we are able to still continue to do new things like this, to deliver new content like this. So that's really cool. So thank you very much for sharing.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Cool.
Fuck, get me off this couch.
Next up, we have some changes to Hitokiri,
Ooh,
which
okay.
I find it interesting because I've been looking a lot at the minion
Ooh.
competitions, and there's a nice
Uh-huh.
pair with the Hito and Pirate these days that are like, it's kind of cool. But yeah, so for Hitokiri, we've done a couple of changes here. Nothing
Yes.
overly major, but still enough to give the hero like really
Yes.
nice quality of life, right? So first of all, Endless Myriad, which is the
Wait, what
infinite
doesn't
chain
have an
heavies. They now
uninterruptible?
gain uninterruptible stance at 100 ms. It used to be at 300. Now at 100, we really, really want players to be able to use this hero, use the heavies, target swap them, do all sorts of crazy things, and having that
See,
armor
this,
kick
they
in
should have
a
never
little bit
changed
earlier
Hitokiri
means you're
from the
less
beginning,
vulnerable
dude. This is
to
basically what
trade.
Hitokiri
This
was
the
in the first
original
place.
intention of Hitokiri as well, to be like a big trading hero. We had the heavy on red meme that was
yes.
when the hero launched.
I
which
remember
was
those
strong,
days.
right? And it's okay, like again, but with this at least, like it's in chain, so it's a lot, it's less problematic, but it still works really quite well. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. And to go with this, we've also adjusted the weapon trajectories for all of her heavy attacks on the sides.
Yes, thank you.
To have better range.
Yes.
So they go a little bit above, like they go a little bit further on the weapon. They're a bit flatter. Again, this is to really give the hero really good team fight ability, be able to trade, use those attacks, defend yourself while attacking. It's something that we really like to have on certain heroes.
Fantastic.
Hitokiri is one of those heroes, so that's great. But to also compensate for these buffs as well, we also removed the uninterruptible stance on Meikai Rift, which is her light finisher.
Oh, the light. Oh, that
Before you would
sucks.
use it to maybe use that as a trading tool, right? But the damage on it is lower. It's slow, so the armor doesn't last as long. So there's all those little issues here that are not as good. So we decided, like, let's remove it from there. It's not really as necessary anyway because the armor is better on the heavies. And we've also increased
remove
the
it?
chain link timing to raking
Leave it alone.
from light attacks to be 133 ms later. So this might be like, what does this mean? But basically it means that if I'm in neutral, I hit you with a light, and then I go into kick, you can interrupt me with a light on your own. Right? So we really want to, again, promote the usage of your heavy attacks, charged heavies. Make sure you confuse your opponents, like partial charge, no charge, full charge, whatever you want to do.
What I've been doing anyway,
really
but
encourage the use of your heavy attacks as much as possible.
Chain link timing
works in this way as
to
well.
kick from a light
Heavy,
though. It's not.
You're a lot safer
from a heavy.
So
They
again,
really
it's
want you to use heavies.
push forward for those heavies as much as possible. I'm super excited to see where that's going to go, especially as I said, which is interesting, right?
So they're nerfing her
we've never really
lights,
seen Hitokiri
buffing
meta,
her
outside
chain
of when she
heavies.
launched, and now it seems she's usable like in Dominion with like some pairings. It's super interesting. They're able to do like super interesting ganks. I can't wait to see if this ends up also affecting her viability in 4v4 game modes, which is super.
I mean, the trajectory
For those of
alone
you
is
that have
gonna
been
help
following
with
a bit, so
like
we're trying to
heavy
adjust top forward a little
heavy
bit,
cancel bait
to make sure
into
that we kinda
throwing
make
another
smaller
heavy
adjustments to the meta to really
because you'll catch dodge
equalize things
attacks.
even more. We're in a much better
rather
state
than
than
just
we've
whiffing.
ever been. We're trying to push towards making sure that like every hero is viable, right? Just having these changes makes Conk, not Conk, but Conk, but
She
Centurion,
wants
for
off
example,
this
way
couch.
better because if all of a sudden
I know
this
this
fusion
look.
kick is fully unreactable, you actually have a really good opener with Centurion, which lets you go way better into like what your other options are. So a lot of that kind of plays into this as well. We're trying
Oh my god.
And JC,
Peacekeeper?
yes. What can we
Medjay?
expect in this
Medjay
TG?
needs something
I
on
know, they
his
don't,
staff
but I'm-
mode bash.
yeah,
I
we
will
need
if
to
they
thank
fix that, I'll
Justin
play the
Ball.
character.
Cool. So
That's the only thing that drives me crazy about that character. Having things that are just not meant to be used.
About time.
And we're doing Highlander round 2, right? So Peacekeeper right now is pretty good
Fine.
in duels, right? Like she has like
beast in duels.
yeah, she's
Yeah,
a beast in duels. Right? Like she has
absolutely.
like pretty good offense, but she has
Terrifying in duels.
Yeah, of course. Okay. But the thing is, when you're playing Dominion, when you're playing like more like team fight game modes, basically, right? Anything you have like team fights going, she struggles from external quite a bit because she relies on her bleed. And so because she relies on her bleed, and the only way to effectively apply bleed is really going to be through guard break, or maybe if you're lucky, kind of peel within to a deep gouge. We've done something a little bit different with Peacekeeper, right? So we've added a new move to her, which is a front dodge bash. But
Ooh.
as you'll see,
Whoa.
it is slower, right? So right now it's 766 ms. You can do it at 100 ms to 500 in your front dodge. It doesn't chain on miss.
See, I almost want to pause
I
it
didn't
here,
miss, but it
but
doesn't matter. It doesn't chain on
I've
miss.
always thought that like
and when it lands, it
all
guarantees
knights
gouge
should have a
which
badge.
leaves
That
you
should
full.
just be a knight thing.
This is not variable timed, right?
And
This is not variable time, right? So it's a
We've
straight
made it.
766 right now.
This is it.
We did this because we
It
didn't
should
want
be,
her to
and just
have
like
the
I feel
bash
like,
from neutral in 1v1 situations. Her offense
Vikings
still quite works, right? So this works well. Lots of
heavy
stuff kinda
soft
good.
feint
She has good
into
ways to
something
defend herself
should
into
be a
to
thing
apply
for
bleed.
all.
But like I said before, when you're outnumbered, when you're external from an opponent, they could just block external towards your way, and then Peacekeeper was like, "Well, I can't do anything.
Yeah,
I can't
GG.
apply bleed." Right? So by having a
And
slower
I think
bash,
it might be
you can still
actually.
use it. You can rely on your teammates to let
Besides
you
Yorm.
guarantee it. You
Yorm
can rely
doesn't
on
have a
bunch of
soft
different
feint
things to
from
make
the
sure that it
heavy.
lands. We've seen it land a ton. Like if you look at Medjay, for example,
But this
the
is
front dodge
cool.
bash when you're in staff.
I don't
mode
play
is super,
Peacekeeper, so I don't
super
know
in this.
if this
Lands
would
very
help or
reliably.
not.
I think a few people
Don't
should
dodge
have
against this
it
character.
already.
Yeah,
And
so
so-
probably
Don't
don't worry.
dodge.
Yeah, so let me do it
Oh,
again
but
here.
now
So
dodge, right?
It'll be different.
It'll be
But
different.
she can't cancel it, right?
So a couple of other changes to Peacekeeper as well. So it's going to be a bit hard here to show it, but we've also adjusted the trajectories, the attack, the weapon trajectories of her side heavies. So because of this now, like these attacks hit further out a little bit. Medjay is a super cool hero.
He
A lot of people love
is.
him.
He can be.
Yeah.
There's been
Wide boy.
yeah, right, the white boy. There's something that I think
Very.
Something's off.
A lot of people have been requesting for a long time.
Mode
Don't you remember, like,
change
when we launched
recovery.
when people were like, oh, I wish I could switch modes
Uh-huh.
constantly in the middle of a fight
Uh-huh.
because I don't like having to do back in guard break to switch, and I'm kind of stuck and I can't do anything.
Yeah, huge point of feedback. I want to be able to just
Exactly, right?
between
Well, guess
modes.
what? We did it. So now,
Is it one button?
Medjay has a new move that is accessible from either staff mode or axe mode.
That just
It's performed
switches
with
you.
Zone attack. So after any attack that Medjay does, if you do zone attack, you switch modes,
Oh my.
you go into this, right?
Nice.
It counts as a heavy. So if I go into a heavy afterwards, like if I go into like back into staff mode, I go heavy, zone into a heavy, I go into my heavy finisher.
Oh my.
If I go going into light, I go into my chain lights, right? So
Nice.
it really counts
Okay,
as a
but can you
heavy.
stay in the
So your
stance
next
when
heavy
you
that
unlock?
perform, like if
That's
you do
another
another
thing that
heavy
was
after a zone
requested.
attack, is going to be the one with the special properties.
Okay.
So in staff is going to be.
This is cool.
Stance, if you're in axe. it's
Just
gonna be
that small
walkable
change is
one. That's kind of like the
everything.
idea here. We really wanted to make sure that you had that flow. And also what's kind of cool is you can go and zone into zone into zone. Constantly switch as much as you want.
and it keeps
Right?
your
You
opponent
can
on their
go
toes.
kinda
Like
nuts,
they have
but
to
that's kind
keep
of
an
interesting, right? So you can-
eye
it
on
really
which
adds
mode
a
you're
lot to
in.
this flow and really go into, you can go ham in what you want to do, but it's also super cool, right? You're able to.
Nice. Medjay main's eaten.
Nuts.
On
Because you
top of
could
this, we've
zone
also
into forward
removed
bash.
armor, the uninterruptible stance on
Zone,
staff
yeah,
mode,
you know?
like chain lights and light finishers. Mostly
And get
because
that
you
slow
wanna make
stuff,
sure
and they
that
might
Medjay
not be
has, when you're in
expecting the
staff
slow
mode, like, it's
stuff.
super strong, right? You have like those big trajectories, and you had that uninterruptible stance constantly, and so it made the hero super difficult to peel when like, and Medjay didn't really have to think. You just did like light heavy, light heavy, light
Yeah.
heavy. You didn't really care. But now
The same
because of
issue
this,
that Axolotl has right
you
now.
need to be smarter into how you play, be more aware of what's going
Just
on around
press
you, because
buttons.
You will be peeled if you
Slap
like,
your face across the
like
controller.
most players are gonna be able to be good enough to hit you right in those in between those little timings, so that you have to be a lot more conscious as to what you're going to be doing. So it's a bit of a nerf here, but it's I think a well-deserved nerf.
Yeah.
Like staff mode has been like overperforming for a while. So that was kind of necessary. And last but not least, the light finisher in axe mode is now undodgeable, right? So you can see the little blue spark here. So the idea here is that when you do a bash into a light, right? So that's cool. That kind of works as usual.
Yeah.
But then you had a situation where your opponent could just mash dodge, get out of your light and your heavy, right? Your chain heavy
Yeah.
or your light finisher.
Yeah.
And
it
so
was,
we had,
really annoying. For a
right,
lot
it's
of
super
people.
annoying, right?
Yeah.
Because then the offense that the hero has was not as strong as it should have been. And so we had to choose between putting undodgeable on the light finisher or on the chain heavy. And we decided to put it on the light finisher because we really wanted to keep that identity of the hero of when you're in axe mode, when you do heavies, the only property you really get is unblockable at the end. And it became like super rainbow, like, you know, like Christmas tree-ish, even though it's kind of the season. But like you would get blue into orange and getting all those kind of crazy things. So instead we put it on light finishers. It also emphasizes the fact that as a Medjay, if you do this, right, again, light, we're back to neutral. I'm frame disadvantage. I still have to reopen up my opponents. I still have to get into it. But I did get damage. I did beat their bash.
This makes me want to play. This makes me want to play
Very
Medjay.
good option as well.
Yeah.
It's hard to, like, it's not super easy for everybody to react.
I
to
wish
it,
his
even if
fashion
I'm
was
on the
better.
sites. You still have to kind of know what you're doing.
I wish
The heavy
everything
still works,
just
heavy
didn't
things
look
are
exactly
really
the
good,
same,
it still
you
works,
know?
all that stuff works. But I really want to make sure that you had that option now. So you have more guaranteed damage. You're scared. Your opponent's going to be scared of dodging. And if they're scared of dodging, it means your heavies are probably going to land more if they're blocked. Then if they're blocked, you get access to your finisher. All those kind of things that kind of like fall into place a lot better for the hero. So that's the idea here for Medjay.
Kind of the TLDR should feel a lot better to play,
Yeah.
a lot more fluid, but
I mean,
a
this
little easier
also
to
makes him feel
Exactly.
a bit
and
more
resolve some of those like pain
unique.
points of,
Yeah.
like
fighting
before he just kind of
against
felt
it.
like
Exactly right. So that's the
Hitokiri
thing.
mixed
And
with
I love that, like, now you can
Berserker.
go this,
but neither
that,
one of them have
full-
anything like
get,
this
like, that
zone
super
into
flow. It's amazing. So
mode
play something
switch.
like that. All right, so that's it
undodgeable
for
light
Medjay,
finisher.
and
Yeah,
then
that's
let's go
that's
to
good.
Highlander. So,
That's a good change.
We've
That's a
done
good one.
Highlander testing grounds in the past, and it was received. Right, we talked about it before. There's a lot of good stuff, and there's some things that we've received a lot of feedback about. The
Yeah.
players weren't super happy about, which is totally understandable.
Yeah.
So what we've done with Highlander is we decided to do a second pass, address the more problematic parts of what we had in the first testing grounds, but at the same time keep a lot, because everything that kind of worked we kept. because it still made sense, right? So what we're going to be talking about right now, what I'm going to be like explaining, is if I don't talk about it, is the same as it was in the first testing round.
So if we don't mention it today, it means we didn't touch it.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So
I don't even know what
first
they
off, we
changed
have,
about the character in the
offensive
first
form.
place.
So when you're in offensive form, we had side dodge caber toss, right? That we were like, yeah, it's kind of cool, you know, it kind of feels good. But at the same time, it was kind of problematic.
Yeah, you could side
because
dodge
it
into the
unbalances, because,
grab
you know,
or into the kick.
It had too many issues, right? You would unbalance somebody, so you got your guaranteed heavy afterwards, which is, you know, what kind of handler was kind of about on live right now. But at the same time, because it unbalances people, you had allies that can go and just go, somebody's on the ground, let's, you know, hit them for all we've got constantly. If you had a Yorm or a Centurion nearby, it's like, well, guess what? You're dead.
Yeah, you're gonna get jumped
off of a defensive maneuver, which is not something that we really wanted to have. So instead what we've done is we've added a new side dodge attack, which is on heavy. So if you side dodge and you release heavy, you go into a dodge attack. Right now we put animation of the defensive form side dodge attack. This is also placeholder.
Yep.
It's getting reworked. It's similar-ish because we still want to have like trajectories and stuff, and we're still able to hit people externally. But at the same time, like it's a lot safer. It lets us balance the damage of it as well quite well, because it's on a heavy, it can execute, so that's kind of good. But it doesn't need to deal like upwards, like close to 30 damage, just because you managed to do a side dodge and got into something. So that's like one of the big changes we've done here.
This
like
this portion of the testing grounds is not
and
for
then the
me.
last change that we've done,
Like I have no
might be
idea
a
what
little
they're
bit hard
talking
to
about.
show,
I don't
but
even know how the
basically,
character worked before.
we want Hannah to be able to enter offensive form a little bit easier, right? And have less risk to do it. So we still have the I throw a heavy, I feint into offensive stance. That's great. But then from neutral, if you hold heavy, you go into it, but it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And so at higher levels, at most levels actually, if you see a Highlander doing this, you can just light them out of it.
Yeah,
And
you just stop them from doing it.
You light it, right? That's why those backstep lights were necessary, because you had to backstep into offensive stance.
Yeah.
So you would be safer.
Otherwise,
So-
every Nobu on the planet's gonna boop.
Exactly. So what we've done is something a little bit tricky, where you can now cancel the entry of offensive form from neutral 266 ms earlier. You can do it into a dodge. So normally if you look at the time it takes for me to like go heavy and then before I'm in, or I can do whole and then dodge a little bit earlier. And so from our testing internally, from what we've been looking at, it means that your opponents can no longer just randomly throw a light when they see you enter it, because you can go dodge into, it's like a dodge into a side dodge attack, for example, and you're gonna beat their light, their recovery, everything there. Like this, right? I have to go dodge, do it. So it's like, it's tricky, like the holding, not holding, mashing, dodge, get into it. So we still want to have that feeling of the inputs are tricky on Highlander. You have to use like your giant brain to be able to like, and there's a lot of muscle memory involved in it, right? So that you go, I have to hold, not hold, and like get into those moments. But it, like again, it's one of those things that we're comfortable giving Highlander slightly more complicated inputs, because you have those higher reward situations. And we really want to make sure that Highlander had those options to get into offensive form and really be able to go from defensive to offensive to defensive to offensive. Kind of like what we have with Medjay, right? Where we have those two modes, except going into them with Highlander is a lot more complex, because you have to hold, you have to do all these creatures.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like Highlander mains are kind of like a unique breed, because they're like, we want some love for our hero, but don't you dare dumb it down.
Yeah, right.
And so they love the pain.
Yeah,
They're like, no, I want to have to like, get it all in there. And so this should satisfy that.
Definitely. So that's what we have for Highlander. Again, as usual, like I'm gonna be scouring, the usual places when the reworks go live.
Be there with you.
We'll have a lot of people to talk to. It's gonna be super interesting, and we'll figure out where we go from there. But hopefully, we'll help fix the major issues.
Well,
a lot of players have
that
with
looks like
Highlander.
it's going to be it for this one. I'm not staying for the tournaments. I've already I've just been sitting here staring at this stream, hoping for something and being given nothing. Kind of a lackluster Warriors Den, in my opinion. But anyway, Durian Farm coming up soon. Stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you enjoyed, feel free to leave a like. If you want to see more videos by me, consider subscribing. And I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope you're staying healthy, hydrated, motivated, and you know where to find me. I'll be here. I'll be doing this.